Hi, everyone. It's great to be here with you. I'm really excited for this amazing opportunity to share with you. My name is Jeff Rotmeyer, so I'm founder and CEO of two different NGOs. I actually started both on the exact same day. It's been quite a journey. I'm originally from Vancouver, Canada, although I haven't lived much of my adult life in Vancouver. After high school, I went straight to the States for university. I got a degree that was pretty much useless, and then I found myself teaching English in Korea. And I taught in South Korea for 4 years English, and then after that, that led to me moving to Hong Kong, and I'm currently living in Hong Kong, and this August I'll have been there for 20 years. So that video is 7 years old, so lots happened since then as well. But yeah, it's been an amazing journey. I've two NGOs, quite confusing. I just want to summarize Love 21, and then for the majority of this sharing, I'm going to talk about ImpactHK and our work with individuals experiencing homelessness. But Love 21, we're working with the Down syndrome and autistic community, and our focus is on sport, nutrition, holistic family care, employment, education, and advocacy. As a charity, we're doing roughly 900 classes a month in sports and healthy activities. We have a huge range of classes every single day. Even more impressively, we do about 60 different types of activities. So of course you have all the classics like football, rugby, swimming, tennis, basketball, but we have a ton of dance classes, hip hop, jazz, contemporary, salsa, K-pop, Bollywood. Our friends love expressing themselves through movement and art. But yeah, we even have intervention classes, of course, music therapy, art therapy, ABA therapy, very important classes, especially for our autistic friends. And we have some more extreme sports like surfing, climbing, dragon boat racing, capoeira, sports that the neurodiverse community are typically not afforded. And I think it's so important that we break through those walls because sadly, individuals with Down syndrome and autism are usually handed a very, very small number of activities. Like, oh, here's a basketball class and a football class and an art class, and we're being told, oh, that's good enough for them. But you and I were constantly being given chances to explore our passions and talents and discover ourselves through these opportunities. And it's a community that are very, very limited. The reason I started Love 21 originally was to try to help the Down syndrome community specifically live longer, healthier lives in Hong Kong. And my first thought was sport and nutrition. And our nutrition program is arguably our strongest. We do a lot of cooking workshops every month, but we also match our families with our in-house dietitian and have a tailor-made program for their specific needs. Lots of educational workshops, and we're doing a lot with probiotics right now. So we're looking at gut health, and it's amazing by our members having a probiotic every day, we're seeing not just their digestion improve, we're seeing their skin improve, we're seeing their happiness, we're seeing them sleeping better. It's pretty amazing just by giving them this simple opportunity how much they're flourishing. So we want to keep pushing in that area. In addition to sport and nutrition, our community care is really big. We have a lot of community activities outside and inside. We're doing a lot in employment as well. We've employed about 50 of our members, but we really have to support the mothers and the fathers. If you really want to have a whole person development model, to truly empower the child, you have to focus on what's happening at home and how those families are supported. As I mentioned, we support roughly 500 families, and over 70% of our families are single mother households. So we're talking about a community in great need. So every single day as a charity, we also have classes for the parents only, so the parents can have fun with their peers, have a laugh, have some rest, and have a great schedule. Classes for the parent and child together so they can improve their communication, empathy, and most importantly, just have some fun together. Counseling programs for parents and siblings, very important in our organization. But at the end of the day, education of society, as I'll touch on with ImpactHK as well, so important because when you see our members in our center, they're loved, they're cared for, they feel accepted, they feel safe. And sadly, when they're making their commute from their homes to our center, if maybe that child can't control their emotion or they're having a struggle, they're often met with pointed fingers and judgment instead of love and care. And the greatest way to reduce stigma towards this community and obviously so many others is by getting a chance to meet them. So volunteering is a huge way to reduce stigma and give them a chance to get to know these people and really then obviously understand how awesome they are and how much they're held back, unfortunately, in our society. So yeah, Love 21, it's been an amazing charity. That community is so dear to me. I just feel so fortunate that I've earned their trust and they've accepted me and I've been able to walk alongside them, and it's a community I'll spend the rest of my life with. I absolutely love the neurodiverse community. I've even thought about it in the future, expanding it to KL. It would be an amazing thing, and obviously throughout Asia. Now with ImpactHK, switching channels to ImpactHK. So we're working with individuals experiencing homelessness. When I left and came into Hong Kong, I was seeking I was seeking more. I was a teacher. I loved my teaching job, but I just wanted to do more. And I was very thankfully introduced to a park in an area called Shao Po, which is quite a poor area of Hong Kong. And at that time, there were about 120 people sleeping in one park in that neighborhood. And I had a friend introduce it to me. I went there with the simple aim of just going into the park, passing out some food, and then heading off for a beer and a curry. Very, very simple goal. And what we would do at that time is I would basically invite my friends to go with me one night a month. We'd meet at a supermarket near the park. We'd each put about $10 US in the hat. We'd go in, and based on how much money we'd have, we'd buy bananas, we'd buy Oreo cookies, we'd buy little yogurt drinks. If we had extra money, we'd buy tissues or mosquito coils. We'd go into the park, and that was the goal. And as you can see, what happened here is it became too popular. And then you start crossing that poverty tourism line, and a lot of lessons learned. So you had to stretch it out and go from going there once a month to twice a month, and then to 4 times a month and 8 times a month. And at that time, I was living in a location called North Point, and there was a footbridge near my home where 8 individuals were sleeping. So oftentimes I was still teaching. At that time, after school, I'd pop by there, maybe pass out some food, say hello, and I'd go home. And one evening I was there, and there was an extra couple. There was a husband and wife from the Philippines on the bridge. And I don't speak Cantonese, and they speak great English. So it was a little bit easier for me to really establish a relationship after earning their trust. And, we became quite good friends. The gentleman Bong, amazing, amazing guy. What a musician, what a talent. Actually performed professionally in Hong Kong for over 20 years. Incredible singer, amazing musician, but very unhealthy. One evening he was going home from work on his motorcycle and had an accident. Sadly, really hurt his legs. And the skin would just not heal because of his diabetes. And that pain and not being able to walk and not having his skin recovering and the smell from that resulted in him losing his job. His wife cannot work in Hong Kong because of quite unfair immigration policies. So you had a situation where they have no connection, no family in Hong Kong. They lost their money, and then it resulted in him, his wife, and their 4-year-old son becoming homeless and ending up on the streets. Now, you don't see many children on the streets of Hong Kong. When you do, see the government very quickly will take that child into safety, which I think is great, but unfortunately, they leave the parents there, which I think is quite shameful. So you had these parents, the husband and wife. Husband cannot walk. The wife cannot work. They're on a footbridge, and their young boy was just taken away from them. And they have 0 family. And at that time, they needed a great friend, and I'm just very thankful that I was able to earn their trust. And it sucks when you have a good friend on the streets. You don't want that. You want to do what you can. I could see a pathway to help them get back into shelter. So we started having fundraising parties and raised enough money to get them into an apartment, which is a great step. It had to be an apartment that was big enough for the son to potentially go back to, or go into, I should say. And it was amazing, good step. And it took about 6 months till we had a really good breakthrough. And the boy was given permission to have a trial sleepover. So it was a Friday night. The boy was able to go to the house, go to the apartment, and have a sleepover that night. And it was just absolutely beautiful. A lot of crying that night. One of the most, it touches me still. One of the most beautiful nights, seeing them reunited in that home. Just beautiful. It went well, that trial, thankfully, and then it resulted in weekends. And then, long story short, they were fully reunited for many years now. They live in the Philippines with their extended family. I see them smiling on Facebook every day now. It's amazing. And it's a good story about how important friendship is when helping an individual off the streets. It was an amazing lesson for me. And it was really that as a tipping point in my life where I thought, okay, we can actually help people off the streets. And that's when I decided to register it as a charity. And when I registered it as well, I also registered Love 21 at the same time. I never really expected them both to go to the scale that they're at now. But I did save quite a lot in the legal fees by doing 2 at the same time. What we do on the streets is what we call kindness walks. So I'm super excited for Kindness Day coming up with you all. I'll be going out and distributing food here. I'm really looking forward to that, and cooking and serving. That'll be very nice. But what we do as a charity now, we are about 100 times a month. We're outside in Hong Kong on the streets, throughout the city, distributing food. The food that we give out on the walks are hard-boiled eggs, bananas, and water. These are the 3 items we always give on our walks. If it's really cold, we'll give extra warmth. If it's really hot, we'll give things like mosquito coils, etc. But Yeah, those are the staple products, which we always give, and reason being, if by chance somebody outside has already been given food or they're not hungry, they can save it for a second meal. Also, environmentally, it comes with its own packaging, so there's no waste there, and obviously it's healthy. So that's what we do every single day, outside, lots of lessons learned, very small volunteering groups, saying hello, saying here you are, and saying goodbye. No big conversations. The last thing you'd really want to do on the streets is force someone to listen to you and talk to you because you have food in your hand. It's really a trust-earning process. We're on the streets every single day as an organization, giving that care, and they can eat that food in peace. And as a staff, we go out individually, and we have deeper conversations and make sure they know about the opportunities that we offer. And hopefully they take that. And when they do, this was the space that we invite them to. Very important space. So we rented this space. I was still teaching at the time when we rented it. It used to look like that. Turned into quite a beautiful home. Still today, very full in Hong Kong, as they have a black rain storm warning there right now, and it's full. Very important space. We needed a place to invite them. And what happened was when our friends started coming, it started to build a community. And then once in a while, you would just learn. You would see individuals picking up the broom without being asked. You'd see them helping each other. You'd see friendships forming. And it really was clear that we had to move towards purpose and helping individuals find more purpose, which is such an important step. And I don't think it's done well enough internationally as well. If you look at employment in helping people escape homelessness, I think it could be done much, much better. But employment is never enough on its own. But employment was a big part. Even to this day, ImpactHK, we have about 70 full-time staff now, so we're a very big charity now. And about 25% of our paid staff have lived experience of homelessness. It's a big part of our model is employing our community, giving them opportunities to have purpose, and through caring for others, as you all know, it does a lot for us in return. It's an amazing space. I look at some of my friends here and the employment opportunities we offer. We try to offer quite a wide range of employment. From working in our cafe or a clothing shop to our sports centers, to our kitchen, to our front desk, etc. Trying to offer that range because we're all different and we all have different passions and skills. So yeah, this was a big step for us in setting this one up. Another thing we focus on a ton is community. So important, community. So important. I see a beautiful community here. This community is an amazing community. And it's incredible to see people that are in so much pain still able to be such great friends to each other and trying their very best to care during such difficult times. And as a community, we do a lot. Actually, we have a big sports program. We actually have about 8 to 10 classes a day in sport. Now, not many homeless charities in the world have a sports program. We have football classes, basketball classes, Pilates, personal training. We do so much in sport, and obviously physical health being a very big factor in that, but even more importantly, it's giving them a chance to meet people, to have laughs, and to be a part of a community. And we go out. We go camping. We go to the rugby sevens. We had 50 people go to the book fair recently. 50 of our friends on a bus going to the book fair, confidently stepping into a setting where there's just thousands of people. It's pretty incredible because individually when they go out, they face stigma, they don't feel accepted, they don't want to go out, but as a community we're strong and we go out all the time, and it's so beautiful to see these amazing friends of ours going out with that confidence and getting back into society. Very important. Friendship, what a key thing. Usually when people think about ending homelessness, this is not a word that jumps to mind, but we all need a friend. Imagine a life with no friends. Like I said, it's beautiful to see people making friends and being kind. This gentleman here, Alec, if you would have told me back when that video came on, back then, 7 years ago, if you would have told me I'd be best friends with a 65-year-old dude with a red mohawk who doesn't speak English, I don't think I would have believed you, but here I am. He's one of my best friends in the world now. I met Alec when he was sleeping in a tunnel, in a pedestrian tunnel in Happy Valley on Hong Kong Island. What a shame. This gentleman was there for over 10 years alone. This is a guy who, when he grew up, he never had a mother in his life. He never had a father in his life. He was never held as a baby. Devastating trauma, very difficult to escape the pain from growing up in such a situation. And Alec just had a life of turmoil and pain and isolation. And when we met him in a tunnel, amazingly, despite the pain and isolation and loneliness that he was facing, he was so kind, so resilient. And we gave him an opportunity. You know, we earned his trust, and then we offered him an opportunity. He came to the center, and Alec went on to become the first person that we employed full-time with lived experience of homelessness. We've now employed over 100 individuals off the streets full-time, but Alec was the first, and he's just an amazing legend in Hong Kong. His hair definitely helps. But yeah, what an absolute rock star. And we didn't save Alec's life. We're not lifesavers as a charity. We're just providing real opportunities that everybody needs, that you and I already have, but every human needs. And we just pour a ton of love on these people every single day. And Alec is somebody that needed that love. He needed that friendship. And it's something that he's empowered by, and something that gives him hope. You know, the hope of having a beer in the restaurant with a mate, the hope of traveling. These are things that he has now, but he never thought he would before. And you know, sometimes it takes a good friend to do that, but you know, it's not easy to develop a friendship on the streets. You have to be strategic. You cannot just walk up to strangers on the streets and just expect them to just leap up at the thought of having a room, or at the thought of having a piece of bread, or at the thought of having a job. You know, it takes time, and it takes consistent care. You know, it takes that love every day. But the good thing is that it works. In the last 2 years, as an NGO, we've now helped a new friend off the streets into our long-term shelters roughly every 3 days. So we've just passed, as of yesterday, 700 people that we've helped off the streets of Hong Kong into our shelter. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to create basically the strongest holistic model possible, including medical. We now have 2 nurses on staff, which is incredible for us. We can do medical outreach, helping people on the streets with wounds, cuts, really establishing even further trust and care for those individuals, but also having nurses on staff in our center right here, right now, where they don't have to face the stigma or face going into a hospital. We can give that care right now in a trusting environment, very important for us. But I think the key in ending homelessness, whether it be in Vancouver or Hong Kong or in Malaysia, is education. And I don't believe that's education for people on the streets. I think that's education of society. You know, we're living in a day and age, especially now, where we're constantly hearing narratives of judgment to try and justify reasons to not care for these people, especially the homeless community. Oh, they're drug users, it's their fault. Oh, they're lazy, it's their fault. Choice, their fault. Not my problem, their fault. So we're expecting these individuals who are in incredible pain to just be okay at the thought of maybe having a room or a job or a piece of food. You know, we've now helped, as I mentioned, 700 people off the streets. You know, it's more than, you look at this whole room, it's more than everybody in this whole room. That's how many friends we've helped off the streets of Hong Kong. And over 90% of those individuals have no emergency contact when we meet them. They're not a single human being in their life. So when we're having funerals for some of our friends, which is sadly happening quite often, when we're having these funerals, there's not a single human being in their life that's even attending those funerals. And of the 10% who do have a contact, we're not talking about them having an abundance of friends and connection. We're talking about maybe one connection. So we're talking about an incredibly lonely community. And I think we as a society need to understand that if we cannot possibly help people overcome the pain we're seeing on the streets without love, without care. So we do a lot in education. Obviously, as I mentioned, volunteering, what a great way to reduce stigma by meeting these individuals as people. We go into schools. So as a former educator, I love going into schools and sharing. One of my favorite things when I talk about it when I go into a school is, you know, asking the students right off the get-go, what is the best thing we can give to help someone experiencing homelessness? And it's pretty amazing because you get the same answers even from children and adults. It's always food, water, money, jobs, and shelter. Right? Food, water, money, jobs, and shelter. I'll share a story of a friend of mine, a 70-year-old gentleman who lost his wife 2 years after he lost his child, who's alone, who has no care for himself. He has no hope. It's quite a devastating story. And after sharing that story, I'll go back to the children and I'll say, hey, do you want to change your answer? And you're watching students from 5 years old to 13 years old taking the word room, crossing out room, or crossing out home, or crossing out food, and they're putting love, and they're putting kindness, they're putting friendship. But how easily has society forgotten about the fact that we all need these things? And we're basically trying to go up to people on the streets who are in incredible pain. We offer them a room. If they don't take that room, we're like, he's too stubborn, he's too proud, he doesn't want the room. We don't have to care for him anymore. And I think we really have to understand that if you truly want to help people, it has to take an incredible amount of love. It has to come with a better strategy. And you cannot help human beings really without a holistic model, which is what we're trying to create there. This is some of the summary of what we're accomplishing as a community now. Since the first start of that very first kindness walk, many years before we were an established charity, we've now had roughly 35,000 unique volunteers. So it's been an incredible movement of just caring people who we just gave them an opportunity to care and they jumped in it. Because I think a lot of people in our community, and I'm sure you all know, so many people do care. They just need that leadership, they need that opportunity. We gave them that, and we've had incredibly well over 30,000 unique volunteers. And every month we're averaging another 300 new volunteers per month who are learning about homelessness and, more importantly, the solution. Jobs, big part, as I mentioned. We've now employed 110 people full-time. And if you include on our kindness walks, the hard-boiled eggs and bananas, in addition to the 350 rice boxes we serve from our kitchen a day, we're getting up around 20,000 meals a month that we're distributing outside, so it's a huge amount of food support. Yeah, it's pretty overwhelming sometimes when you look back now at this stage, right? I've started 2 NGOs, one being this one, the second one being Love 21. Love 21 also employing 18 full-time staff, so it's really a charity on the move as well. I never wrote a business plan for either. And I think that agility was a huge strength in our development. If I had written down a plan from day one and tried to follow that plan, I'm pretty confident it would have not worked. The agility in being solution-focused and taking these small steps forward, listening, learning, adapting, that is one of the greatest strengths we had in our growth. And really, I think a message I would love before, hopefully have some questions. I'd like to have good questions. We have a good dialogue, but yeah, I think one of the, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, I think one of the messages I would love to send forward, is take a step. Just take a step to something that makes your heart pound. Take a step to something towards you're passionate, whether it be working with the neurodiverse, poverty alleviation, the environment, animals, the elderly, refugees, asylum seekers, etc. Take a step towards something that you're extremely passionate about. But take that step not with the intention of hitting a home run on day one. Take that step with the intention of learning, listening, and then just keep taking steps forward. And I'm glad I did. And I'm really happy that, again, that I got the chance to meet you all today. And I look forward to a great week. But maybe on that note, I know hopefully we can have, if there are any questions, maybe it'll be a good time.